Hi everybody, welcome back to the Tattooed Spirit. I'm Jeff Burr. We're talking about the Wheel of Fortune card. But before we get to that, we're going to find out a little bit more about the prior three cards. We're going to review a little bit as we're moving on. You can kind of see how just the natural progression has been left to right, which is how I'm displaying these cards to you. Once you've discovered, once you think it's just about time to figure out what's going on, what's making you tick, why the successes in your world just aren't giving you the deep satisfaction that you always thought that they would, you begin to take time away from the progress, which is why the Hermit is reversed, literally taking time away from facing forward and moving on to whatever's next, because it is in these times that you begin to get the revelations, the big aha moments, the big light bulbs above your head, that there is so much more at play than what you had once thought that your life was all about. This card is about interconnectedness. It's about the holographic nature of the universe. It's about quantum mechanics, quantum reality, where two things can happen in different places at the same time, how there's intercommunication beyond the speed of light, how consciousness can be measured, and how affecting physical phenomena with mental acuity and deep meditation, people meditating can lower pH on water, and just how all of these non-physical realities all can take place. That's the revelation of this Wheel of Fortune card. Another important insight about this card, there's a great John Holland deck that I like to use. He calls it the Psychic Tarot. He calls this same card Destiny. This Wheel of Fortune is sort of like the Wheel of Destiny. Whenever you work with this card, whenever this card comes up, the ideas that I would like for you to think of is the idea that it is just time for something. There are all of these wonderful things happening on this card. We don't have time to talk about all the things about all the cards, but we have here the Egyptian god of death. Set is his name. This is represented by a snake. Down here we have Horus, which is Osiris. This is Horus. This is the god of the guide to the dead souls, and Horus is the son of Osiris. And then up here we have the Sphinx, which is the guide to rebirthed souls. Okay, so you have just this idea of not only reincarnation, which is one of my favorite topics to talk about and discuss, and what it means interpersonally with ourselves and each other, is that the idea that it's just time for things to be happening. This is the idea whenever the true meaning of the word karma comes into play. And this is such a good card to really get some good understanding about what it truly means to have karma, to experience somebody getting their due, so to speak. And true time in the Hermit stage is to understand what true karma and destiny really is all about. The idea that whenever you, let's just say, pass over into another life experience, past this death threshold, past this death veil that we often have difficulty expressing and working with and seeing other people's pass by. The idea that once you review your life and you had seen where you were less than loving, less than kind in any particular regard, it is you that calls forth the karma into the next life. There's all these many videos on Facebook that, yes, are sometimes entertaining, more often infuriating. The idea that someone who's such an asshole moments later kind of gets their one-uppings, and everyone's just like, oh, good karma, that's good karma. That's actually not at all how it works. When you spend enough time in the Hermit stage to contemplate these deeper meaning, esoteric, Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Destiny type of things, you understand that it is your own spirit, your own inner being calling for the balancing of the energy that you had caused somebody else to be a little bit out of whack. So when you see somebody experiencing karma, understand that it is their own calling, whether it be from the other side or if you do the whole past life thing, that is wanting their own balancing. It's not the idea that God is punishing or that the devil is making sure somebody's happy or for whatever reason. That's the idea of karma. That's what this card represents, is that the idea that it is just time for something to happen. This is just life evolving the way that it's evolving. When it presents upside down, or whenever you work with this card upside down, it just means a resistance to change. Our resistance to losing a job, getting fired, having a loved one lost, or having to put a pet to sleep. I had one of those situations just last month dealing with this card reversed. Someone just was having the worst time with the idea of a pet passing. This was the card that resonated with this client. This was the card that we worked on to literally, in our experience and how we're going to teach you, is to turn the card upside down in the mind so that you have a fresh view of the life and death process. There's death, there's guidance of that soul that we celebrate after the death, and then a reemergence and the idea that this can come back in, and however it worked out, it was actually beautiful. But that's what the Wheel of Fortune is about. And whenever I go off on these seeming tangents, I'm just trying to give you an idea that it's not about picking up a book and finding out what this means word by word by word. This is the idea, as John Holland says, of destiny. It is just time for things to happen, and that you should accept it because it is the world changing. Okay? Next card is smack dab in the middle of our grid of 21 cards. There's a reason why it's called Justice. In the card above it, in the card below it, it all comes into play. And we'll be talking about this card in just a minute. We'll see you in a second.